Hello, everybody, and welcome back to This is the Waypoint. My name is Chris, a.k.a. RumblePack92, and I'm going to be your host today as each and every week we talk about the Season 2 of Mandalorian episode by episode. Today, directly on my right, enjoy this new layout that I put together because OBS failed me. This is some other Josh.
This guy reeks. His gloves are still wet. That was a quote from the episode.
That was a real thing they said.
Yep.
That was a real line from a real show. Of course, above me, as always, Albob875.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today, homie?
Doing good. Had a nice long recording of Waypoint before this, so
I was still feeling it. We've been podcasting for a while now.
we've been podcasting. Had a break for dinner, which we had some meatloaf, so I'm very full.
I had Taco Bell.
Ooh.
Got my Baja Blast.
Nice.
Feeling it. Of course, all the way over to the right, Mr. Jordan Deeb.
What's up? I saw a meme before I even watched the episode where Bill Burr said the line, "And by you people, I do mean Mandalorian," and it was captioned, "Bill Burr said I'll only come back on the show if I'm allowed to be racist."
That's great.
Which is the most on-brand thing I can possibly think of for Bill Burr. I mean, really.
Like I said last week, guys, it's Space Boston.
Yeah, it really
You're
is,
not
though.
wrong. You're not wrong.
I like that he doesn't change anything about his voice at all.
Yeah.
It's just Space
Not Bill Burr
Boston.
playing a character. It's Bill Burr inside of Star Wars.
It's Bill Burr with a blaster.
Yeah.
And then, of course, our guest host, as always, friend of the show, Jim Tasty.
Hey guys, sometimes people just want order. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh my god. I really liked that whole scene, but fuck, he was creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he I can't remember General Hess, I think was the character's name.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. He's in a bunch of other stuff too.
I'll say his
It's the
voice
southern
sounded
accent.
familiar.
Yeah. It's
He
the
was just-
southern accent for me.
He was just off-putting, man. There's something about him that's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When he calls Mando brown eyes. Those have
Yeah.
Brown eyes.
He draws it out.
Yeah.
Brown eyes, yeah.
Mhm.
Real long, get that southern molasses spilling out of you. Ugh.
Good lord.
Awesome. Of course, as always, thank you boys for coming on and being on here to discuss Star Wars The Mandalorian this week. Of course, we are talking about episode whatever. I don't know. I've stopped keeping track so
15.
long.
Chapter 15.
Season 2, Episode 7, Chapter 15, The Believer.
See, I remember the title of it. I was going to call it The Believer, and that's the only thing I ever remember. I need to start writing them down.
Now I'm a believer.
And I saw I will see now. I just want Smash Mouth in Star Wars, and you've ruined everything for me.
The
Wow.
Shrek opening, but it's like Jabba.
I take Smash Mouth in Star Wars before I take Mace Windu coming back, let me tell you.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Honestly, yeah, Mace Windu should stay dead.
Yeah, make him like a Cantina band, but it's Smash Mouth, and it's just the real place of scum and villainy.
Honestly, if Smash Mouth did a guest spot where they're like singing in hoodies, I'm here for it.
Mhm.
I'm here for it, dude. We were just talking about off camera, or maybe on camera. I don't remember. It was during our
Who knows?
podcast. Go watch our podcast, our most recent Waypoint podcast, to find out, or that comes out tomorrow when this releases. I can't keep track of anything. But I brought up that in The Force Awakens, in the cantina scene when they first get to Maz Kanata's castle, there's a band there playing. It's supposed to be very evocative of the scene from A New Hope, of course. And there is like somebody singing in Huttese. I was like, well, that song was actually written by and performed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. So that's Lin-Manuel is in Star Wars.
Mhm.
Canonically.
Oh, he
Of course
was
he is.
actually in 7?
Yeah, that's him singing in the cantina scene in 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's actually Lin-Man. And it's one of those things where it's like he's got a very distinct voice. Lin-Manuel does.
Right.
Yeah.
And it to where it's like I didn't notice it the first time I watched the movie, and then I saw something that gave him the credit for that, and then now every time I go back, I'm like, yeah, that's Lin-Manuel. It's like unmistakable. To the
I'm
point
gonna have
where
to
it's
go
like,
back
yep,
and watch it.
it just sounds like Lin-Manuel singing in Huttese, and it's fabulous.
Mhm.
Now, it's not as good a song in Hoodies as the one that is in the opening scene of Jedi Fallen Order.
Mhm.
But that's a discussion for another show, I suppose.
Mm.
Right.
As always, I like to start these episodes off with something that I really, really enjoyed from the episode. I'm actually not going to get into the big thing yet. I'm bucking show tradition here, and I'm not going to go about the most exciting thing first off. Instead, I'm going to go about with something else, which is, fuck, Boba Fett looks so cool.
Yeah. Oh, he
armor
looks
is
crisp.
Damn.
Slick.
Thick
Clean.
Boba looking good.
Mhm.
We said this off camera. I have never been more of a Boba Fett fan than I am right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Damn, thick Boba looks sick.
Yeah, buy that
Especially
Boba
with
stock.
Yeah, purchase buy Boba stock now. It's
I
going
learned
up.
it last week because he's
And-
going up.
And
Mm.
look at like how intimately we are now seeing the Slave One. Like we've been inside of it, which we've never been before.
Speaking of that, I just want to say how cool it was seeing the interior when it's taking off and you can literally see the ship turn. And,
Yeah,
like, I
that
thought
was
Yeah.
that was
so
sick.
cool.
Watching the whole
And
I
thing
think-
turn. Now, technically, we have been in the slave. We see the
Not
cockpit.
the lower part though.
No, we see the
Yeah.
cockpit in Attack of the Clones, but we've never seen. Yeah, we've never been like in the rest of the ship like that.
Yeah, no, we've never
and,
seen
and,
it.
and yeah, we haven't seen it rotate, which is so fucking cool.
And I
Yeah,
like how
like
they
all the
showed you
gears and
like
stuff. Yeah.
when it's landed, he basically has to get up like an astronaut and then
Yeah,
make himself
Whereas,
Mhm.
parallel with the
Mhm.
ground, and then it lifts up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout
I
out
love-
to the slave one for being so damn cool. Josh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
All good, all good. I was just gonna say I love that comedic beat of like they're rescuing Bill Burr off the prison planet there, and he's like, "Oh, you look like some other guy," and then of course he walks down the cockpit.
Which
All
also his
Mandalorians
face.
look the same to Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fucking
Bill Burr is
racist.
hashtag space canceled.
I did love
So-
that line. It's like, by you people, I do mean
I do mean
Mandalorians.
Mandalorian. Damn.
So one interesting discussion I think we could have. So the episode is called The Believer.
Mhm.
Is Mando the believer or is Mayfeld the believer?
I think it's Mayfeld.
was
Not
getting
that
that
we
feeling too.
necessarily see him convert to, the Mandalorian creator, religion, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Right.
But we're all laughing at how in the beginning he's very much being ignorant and purposely just kind of like whatever about the fact that people act or believe what they do. And he says in the car, "Oh, if you're from Mandalore, you got to believe that. But if you're from Alderaan, you believe that. But we're all the same." And it sounds like this very kind of disgruntled, I don't want to learn about other people type of thing.
Mhm.
And by the end of the episode, I think he has a much more respect for Din as a person, but also for why he believes what he believes. Because he tells him, he's like, "Listen, I never saw your face. Just
Right.
take the helmet. When it happened. We got stuck. Let's go." And
Yeah.
he understands, because he also said in that part in the car, he goes, "Are you not supposed to take off your helmet? Are we not supposed to see your face? You were bending the rules based on what's convenient for you and your mission."
Right.
Which is
Which-
kind of true, and I think is true to people as a whole, where no one on earth is not hypocritical, whether it's part of a religion or a cultural thing that you believe in. Nobody follows that 100% of the time.
Right.
But I
And
think
that,
with an evolution of Mayfield kind of acknowledging that Mando's an okay guy.
Yeah, exactly. And that conversation very reminiscent of like a lot of the themes of The Last Jedi in terms of the gray area and
Mhm.
all sorts of
Mhm.
stuff like that. So very cool seeing those come back for sure.
I think it does also give a cool character a cool character moment of growth to Mayfield in that he starts out the episode like not a believer, like really in anything. Dude just lives his life.
Right.
Whereas I think by the end of it, after Cara Dune's like, I'm pretty sure prisoner 54667 died in that explosion. What a shame. And then now he's off to go live his life, and it felt to me like they were also kind of implying this, like, hey, he's got a new purpose in life now that he's free, and he's obviously not a fan of the Empire or anything. He's not going to turn around and be an Imperial sniper again.
Right.
To where it's like it's the believer also. It's like he's got a new belief now too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that he now actually stands for something.
Mm.
Whereas
Yeah.
you could argue in the Empire he didn't, because I think the fact that he was willing to turn on them all over one bad call that his commanding officer made, and this isn't me defending the Empire, but I think it's that he kind of probably went in for the more of the opportunity than he did the belief in what the Empire was doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he has that scene with Din in the car where he kind of harps on, it doesn't really matter who's in charge. But then I think by the end of that episode, he clearly can make the distinction that the New Republic is probably better off for the majority of the galaxy.
I wonder if he'll show up in Rangers of the New Republic.
That'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
That would
See him
be
come
cool.
back.
That'd be really cool. He gets the stripes and stuff, the metal.
Well, we know the New Republic isn't against giving old Imperial people roles in the New Republic. I mean, they did it with Cara Dune.
Cara Dune was not Imperial.
She wasn't? I thought she
No.
was.
She was rebel.
She was a rebel.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my bad. Yeah.
But
it's all good.
you are right that in books and other extended material that they kind of do, bring in Imperial people back into positions of power, whether it be politically or in the military or something like that.
Honestly, I'd say a large majority of the rebellion is actually ex-Imperial. Because I mean they gotta take what they can get.
Before we get too far away, I just want to say, because Mayfeld, they were on the whole talk about Mandalore, you believe one thing, Alderaan, you believe another. But then he always says, whatever makes you sleep at night.
Right.
Lets you sleep at night. But then he also repeats that at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So
that he can now
does he really grow?
Yeah, it's almost implied that he couldn't. He probably felt a lot of guilt about what he did in the Empire.
Right.
And then the only reason I was thinking is, then he, never would take his helmet off. That was this whole thing. Like Mayfeld made him think about this creed that he's taken.
Right.
Does he believe in it or not? So that's kind of what made me really think about this. Is like, is Mayfeld the believer or is Mando the believer?
So I think
that was kind of. Not to get too deep into that, but that was kind of the thing that made me think about this. Like,
no, you're fine, and I think that's probably personally that's my biggest takeaway from this episode is that we do see Din finally take off his helmet, not just because he got blown up and he's willing to let a droid see his face. I think that bit with Mando, I don't think it was the cause or like his conversation with Mayfield was the cause of him being willing to take his helmet off. I think that was actually just a stepping stone to where I think that started with Bo-Katan, three episodes prior or whatever.
No, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. Or after, he's like, it was all leading up to this point where he meets Bo-Katan, who is literally Mandalore,
right,
and who's like, no, that's ridiculous.
Right.
And I think that was kind of like the first shake up a bit in his belief of the way. And then it's like, it all kind of snowballs down into this, where I also really liked the statement that Mayfield said, to where he's like, on Mandalore you believe this, on Alderaan you believe this. It's like, but they're both gone. Which I really like that. Of course, Alderaan is literally gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Mandalore, the Mandalorians are dead. That's a little different.
So going back to the believer, this is like the first episode that really you don't because you even through this season and even season 1, it's like, okay, episode whatever, the Jedi. Okay, it's like about Ahsoka.
Right.
This one is like the first episode where you're like, is it Mando? I think it is Mayfeld, honestly. But then even Cara Dune kind of comes around to believing in Mayfeld a little bit, because initially she's given him a ton of crap for being ex-Imperial, for not standing up for what's right, and then at the end she's kind of like, all right, I respect you a little bit for what you did today. So there's even something like that with Cara, which is
I think they did a really good job of kind of making it sort of like a blanket thing that applies to a lot of the characters in the episode, which is really cool.
Because before, like you're saying, it was pretty obvious who the title was referring to.
The Jedi was, or the heiress, like oh, that's Bo-Katan, oh, that's Ahsoka, like duh, okay.
The gunslinger,
or episode 2, the frog lady.
The tragedy.
Who's that one about?
The spiders. Funny
Big
enough,
spider.
weirdly enough. Yeah,
The
big
spider,
spider.
Everyone called him Frog Lady back in school,
Now she's the passenger.
I will still never get over the fact that she's in the fucking credits as the Frog Lady.
Yeah.
We never got a species name, just Frog Lady.
Give you a
Same-
name though.
Same with Mithril, man.
Yeah.
Or my boy Blue.
Yeah, it took me forever I didn't realize at first that Mithril was the name of his species. It's not his name.
Right.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
neither. I was like, wait a minute.
I thought that was his name
Like when-
forever.
Like when you catch a Pokemon and you're like, yeah, you're Pikachu, the Pikachu.
That's fantastic. So something I saw a lot of people talking about this episode was that it was another like side mission episode, but I was like, it really didn't feel like that to me. This
Didn't
felt
feel like
very,
it.
it felt very plot centric, and I guess if you just don't have the child in an episode, then it's not plot centric. I don't know what else to tell these people.
Yeah, no
Felt
Grogu.
like the
And
mission
by
to
these
get to
people,
the
I do
final
mean
mission.
Mandalorians. No. Something that I really liked just in terms of a technical aspect of it was how all of the action scenes were paced and shot. It felt
1000%.
very. First, it was shot really well. You could tell everything that was going on in all the action scenes, which I really liked, and might have been kind of a knock against the last episode, which could get a little confusing at times. But also it's like the way it was paced was very like pulpy sci-fi action. Like it almost felt like an action scene you'd see in like Indiana Jones, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it was on top of a train.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a moving train cliche.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and something that I really liked was it handles that sort of like wave-based enemies like really well. It wasn't just all of them at once. There was always something happening, then there'd be more, and something happened, and there'd be more, and the interactions were different every time, and just I really liked that. I thought it was all really well placed. I loved that his blaster ran out of ammo, which I don't think we've ever seen a Stormtrooper's blaster run out of ammo before.
He like
Oh
hucks it
yeah.
at him.
Yeah,
And then I liked how when he was fighting, like he tried fighting like he had the Beskar armor on,
Mhm.
and he just
He was
Yeah.
armor
ignoring what was
shattered.
behind him.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's I didn't even pick up on that, but yeah, I was like he
Yeah.
had no armor on the right side, on his left side, because he would
it
just
shattered.
so used to it. What does that armor
Right.
even do?
If you can't handle
Who
just a
knows?
simple like stick.
What does that armor even do, bro?
Listen, there was
One
budget
thing-
cuts.
Yeah. So another thing I picked up on, I don't know if it's going to be foreshadowing, but he uses the spear from one of the pirates.
I did see
Throws
that.
that
That was
one
a
to the
cool
other guy.
move too.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
is it foreshadowing what he's going to be like fighting style with this Beskar spear?
I
Ooh,
told
yeah.
I told Brittany too in that scene where he takes it and throws it, because he does like this cool move of where he's holding it like this, and then quickly changes grip.
Yeah.
And I was like, anytime you see a
possibly-
motherfucker do that, you're dead. So, like,
Yeah, exactly.
The guy knows how to use a spear without thinking about it. It's like, oh,
like
Yeah,
it was so
holding it
fast
this
and
and then
so
got
sick
tossed
looking.
into
I
the
was like,
food.
see, a scene that that really got me was right after the action, and I don't know if it was the way it was shot, if it was just maybe going from something intense to something calmer, but when they roll in and then all the stormtroopers run up and start to save their ass, I think we were all thinking what Mayfield finally says. We're like, oh man, I've never been so happy to see stormtroopers.
I'm
And
so
like,
glad you brought that up, because that was something I was. Is that I think that's the first time that we've ever like really seen the Empire like come in to save somebody.
Mhm.
Even if I mean it's all bad guys. I mean it's like they don't
Yeah.
know that they're in disguise, but it's like TIE fighters just came to help the main character of the show.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
weird. It's like, whoa, the TIE fighters coming in. It's like you see that, and like it's weird to see that as a good thing.
No,
Mhm.
that's the thing. Is like I had to remind myself that those are the bad guys, and they're only
Right.
in their head helping their own cause and their own people. But I'm
But
still like,
they got like music and like a major key. It's very celebratory and all that.
Yeah.
They're all like saluting
And
as you
those
go
that
through.
especially when they run up and they're like, "You go, we'll fight," and they start shooting. I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Wait, no, those aren't. No,
Yeah.
no for the space
Mhm.
Nazis."
Mhm.
But it was so
I've,
fucking
like-
cool. All the same. Like,
Yeah.
Just before
I've never
that
been
moment.
so relieved to hear the TIE fighter scream.
Oh yeah.
And I'm down and you hear the it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're coming up to
That's
save him.
I
Just
said
before
it.
that, though,
I said it last week. And I'll say it
um,
again. TIE fighters make everything cooler.
Yeah.
They do.
Stormtroopers
like-
were hitting their shots.
Just before all that though, like when that final wave of like all the pirates come on and they turn on their thermal detonators, you just see Mando do the really
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta be
Fantastic
kidding me.
acting.
Like
Fantastic
just
physical
that
acting.
just the subtle like
Mm.
There's
How
still
am I
more
gonna
of
beat
these
this?
guys. Mhm.
And I don't know if it's I don't know if it's actually like him in the suit or not, but whoever they have in the suit
I
during
think it
this.
is because there's some you can actually see through the visor that looked like Pedro.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
nice. I know that Pedro, and I think we talked about this before, but I know that Pedro was in the suit more this season than he was last.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's like throughout this whole season, we've seen lots and lots of just great like physical acting moments from him. Especially, it's like whenever he directs with somebody with a Mandalorian helmet that would take it off, he'd always seem like physically stop as he was walking, and just like
Right.
you could always kind of you could read him a bit through his physical actions, and it's always really cool about doing that, because you probably have to, as an actor, that's probably got to be difficult. You probably have to be a little
for
more
sure.
exaggerated than you normally
Yeah.
would, just to make it come across
Yeah.
in the armor. And so yeah, it's just that like that aspiration, that like exasperation, where he's just like, ugh. Damn it!
To make a point about that, almost the opposite. When they just got into Juggernaut at the beginning, and Mayfeld was still, being a little ornery, and Din was just not moving at all. He was just like,
It's
because
still
he didn't want to deal with him at all at that
Right.
He didn't
point.
know what to think. He had no plans. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was like,
Which
like, even
I
not
love that
moving
Joe
at
too,
all,
because
you
he's sitting there, he's
know.
so stiff. Like even when he moves his head, he's just like so stiff when he's talking to. Like you
Yep.
can see how uncomfortable he is in this armor. Like it's so
Yeah.
great.
It's a lot of things, because I think like had everything went smoothly, him lifting the helmet off, nobody was paying him any attention.
Right.
Would he have really counted that as anybody seeing him? But then the second conversation starts, and
Yeah.
Mayfield comes over and he's like, "Oh, like my helmet is off, and now people are interacting with me." I think that froze him in the fact that he knew no answers about the Empire.
Uh,
transport unit.
big
Yeah.
big shout out to like Mayfield taking off the helmet and throwing out the glasses. Like, man, I can't see a thing in that helmet. Like, yes, excellent. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the Shore Troopers, who are one of my favorites. And seeing Shore Troopers not
Absolutely.
on Scarif was very cool. Those were the tan ones.
Yep.
They previously debuted in Rogue One, and that's the only other time that we've seen them actually. And I love them to death. Fun fact about it's like
1000%.
the pieces on Mando's hands are Shore Trooper pieces.
Mhm.
Oh,
That tan with that blue armor, and previously before he got the Beskar, he had one of his shoulder pads and one of his
Yeah.
leg pieces are Shore Trooper as well.
that's cool.
Pre-Beskar, yeah.
Nice.
Which just makes it cooler, because Shore Troopers are awesome. Rogue One is great. Josh, you shut your mouth.
Rogue One's great.
So,
Mediocre at best.
shut up. I hate you so much. Who invited you on this show? Oh, it was me. I did.
I thought I had the idea for the show, dude.
Yeah, you might have. That sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right. I think y'all just shunted the role of host onto me.
Yeah, exactly.
We had
Sounds
to get
about
the
right.
Star Wars fan #1.
So I do want to get back onto I think what is like the biggest development of the show, which is of course Din taking off his helmet with other people around, which one I think we've already touched on enough to where it's like he's at a point to where one, I think his belief in the way is shaky at best right now.
Yeah.
But then also, I mean, he clearly, I mean, dude loves his kid, you know, and
Right.
and I think it's a great way to show like how far he's willing to go for Grogu,
Mhm.
and
1000%.
I honestly didn't think he was gonna do it, like up until where he did. I was like, oh shit, like,
Right.
yeah, this is getting real. Okay.
Like, I scanned his face
Mhm.
for the first time with the helmet on.
Well, there's
they had
even
that
that
little
part too,
moment.
where he took it off, and like I was like, okay, like in my own head, I'm like, okay, technically no one's really seen his face yet. Like he's still kind of good, and like,
And then it goes. Bzzz.
Yeah.
well, that's what I wanted to bring up was, what if I wonder if his face getting scanned is going to play a role in something else down the line with like
Oh.
the armor, or like somebody else who knows that he can't take his helmet off or can't show his face publicly.
Like might get himself ejected from the way. But I also wonder if that'll even matter to him at that point. Like if he comes back across the armor again and she's like, "Yo, did you take your helmet off?" and he's just like, "Yeah, what of it?"
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That
very.
could be interesting.
Yeah.
Initially, I was like, "Oh fuck!" Now the guy's gonna know who he is. And then I was like, "Wait, he calls him by name in the last season, so never mind." Gideon, Moff Gideon.
Mhm,
I
Right.
think he was the first one to drop the name Din Djarin on the show.
mhm.
Yeah.
And so initially I was like, "Oh, he knows who he is." And then I went, "Oh no, wait, he already knows who he is."
I also like how the Empire security system isn't, we're going to scan you to see if you're in our database, but we're just going to scan you to make sure that you're not in the other side's
Yeah.
database, which is
Yeah.
the stupidest like way of going
is.
about
Welcome to
it.
Star Wars.
I'm not sure what the security is on that. I wonder if it's like just some sort of like Republic holdover of like, since
Like,
there's
just
that
make sure you're
huge-
not wanted or something. I don't know.
you're not, or you're
Right.
not a droid, like just
Yeah.
some,
True,
like
yeah.
holdover from the Clone Wars. Yeah, it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
I think so. I saw it on Twitter. Somebody tweeted it was like a captcha, like just make sure you're like a person and not like a droid. Or, like you're actually like
In your
someone
face.
interacting with that terminal.
It's
I was
just a
like,
Star
oh,
Wars captcha.
like,
Time for
just
the
make sure you're
robot
real.
test.
That's awesome. I love it.
Tell me which of these are traffic lights.
Oh man.
Damn it.
And
They're like
then
one
I,
sliver's in the next square.
I was just
and
gonna say, well,
don't click it. It's like
like,
X failed. You're out.
I loved the scene too, of course, where I've already forgotten what you said his name was, the Imperial officer.
General Hess
Hess, thank you.
or Hass.
Whatever
Hess
it
or
is,
Hass.
whatever it is, it sounds too close to General Hux, and that keeps getting locked in my brain.
Yeah.
But I like the scene one because it was both tense and kind of humorous to where he's talking to Din and trying to get information, and Din's just like transport. Like, and,
Right.
and he's like, no, I asked what your TK number, and then Mayfeld runs over and starts giving that whole spiel, and he's like, oh yeah, he can't really hear you that well. We just call him Brown Eyes, and then the officer just starts yelling at him like,
Yeah.
I thought that whole scene
He
was
was-
brilliant.
He was legitimately so frightening, and I can't explain why.
Yeah.
He
His
was like
eyes,
the one where
dude.
like I saw him
It
like,
was
oh
his
man,
eyes.
he's
He had the crazy
Yeah.
eyes, bro.
Right.
yeah.
And then I love how the tension like continues over to the next conversation they have, where like you think they're out of it, and then he's like, let's get a
He's like,
drink.
come get a
And
drink.
they, exactly, and they talk about Operation Cinder, which
Two
is
spats of spashka.
Exactly. Which Operation Cinder is a Battlefront 2 reference, right?
Yeah.
It's both a Battlefront 2 reference and a Aftermath reference.
Right. Right.
To where it seems kind of poorly planned. I mean, now that Rise of Skywalker is out,
Yeah.
because originally the idea for Operation Cinder was that the Emperor, being the Emperor, was like, look, if I'm not ruling the Empire, nobody else is, and so he's like,
Right.
if I were to ever die, we'll burn the whole thing down.
Mhm.
But something that I thought about just after this episode, and it's one of the key like cruxes of this scene, is it almost like cuts the fat off the Empire, so to speak, of like, all right, we're gonna like burn it all down, do some really bad stuff. Let's see who's like still buying into like the
Yeah.
Empire, buying into that
Right.
vision. Because people like Mayfeld are like, okay, this
like,
is
nah, this is
definitely,
fucked
like,
up.
This is definitely something like I'm not about. Whereas General, it is General Hess. I just looked it up. General Hess is like,
Nice.
yeah, we have to do order by any means necessary, even committing terrible atrocities.
That's the thing that I think was very interesting about Mayfield is the thing that I think swayed him wasn't the actual acts that the Empire was doing or what they stood for, but I think,
Mhm.
and it's gonna make him sound a lot more greedy than I think the show maybe intended to. But it's one of those things where he didn't realize how little regard the Empire had for other lives until it affected him and his friends, and they were
Right.
fighting for them.
Mhm.
You know, so I think it was kind of one of those things where it's like, they were his brothers in arms, and
Which,
Right.
to be
commanding
fair,
officers.
I think he is kind of a pretty greedy character, at least from what we saw in season one,
Mhm.
or at the very
Yeah, no.
least, maybe not necessarily greedy, but just so much as maybe a little
Out for himself.
yeah, a little self-focused and not really caring about anybody else outside of him
Yeah.
and his personal ring. But then yeah, I think like kind of like what you're saying, Brett, is like he got to a point where he's like, wow, this is messed up. In Bout Out, because I mean that's kind of the plot of Battlefront 2 as well, with Iden Versio, to where she's like, this is fucked up, bro.
Yeah.
And then he even like directly brings up like all the friends he lost in battle, and he's like, well, you know, I don't think these guys still agree with it. They're all dead. They all had families, and you know, Hess is simply like sacrifices of the Empire.
Yep.
And like that's where everything.
He said something about like it's for the
Legends
greater
of the
good.
Empire.
Yeah, exactly. Then it blasts him.
Which yeah, for shout out to him for being like, you know what, blat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I love that. That felt good.
People saw that.
That felt very Inglorious Bastards-esque.
Right?
Yeah, like
He's
holding
up
it under the table and everything. Like, yeah, that was really cool.
And then
I
they do the
for the
quick
edit
pan
in
to the guy off to
20
the
years.
left.
Mhm.
I can't wait for the edit in 20 years. So we find out that the general shot first.
The fucking yeah, well you're gonna see somebody's head just go.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you brought that up there, Josh, to where the camera has that quick pan to the left, and there's that short trooper just trying to get his lunch, and he's like,
exactly. And then it, boom! And then it just becomes this whole
You're gonna
shootout.
find out some guy who you don't really recognize from your job just shot your boss in the face.
and you're just kind of standing there like, uh-oh. He's got his little plate of Jello or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought Bill Burr did a great job in that scene. You could really see the anguish on his face and like him just breaking down. And then
Honestly, shout out to Bill Burr's whole performance in that episode.
Yeah.
I thought he was good in season 1, but he stepped it up another level for this episode, man. He killed it.
In season 1, his character was very, I think,
Kind of one note.
one note, one dimensional, and very much a Bill Burr type of character. And obviously, we just joked that this was basically Bill Burr in space. He's not really, he's not performing Shakespeare out there, but he added a lot of depth, and I think that there's moments where it actually comes in and shows.
Well, noticing him in this episode compared to last season, since he was a part of that crew, you know, when you're a part of something like that, you kind of have to go with the flow. And since I can't remember any of their names, but you know, the whole crew he was with last season, like, you know, they're all a little, you know,
Crazy.
wild and, you know, crazy. So he probably had to, you know, if he doesn't act that way, then, you know, they do what they did to Din.
Twi'leks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then he also replaced Mando in that crew, so he had a lot to live up to in that regard. And then since he was out of that group, he didn't have to put up that as much of a front.
I think there's also a level of like
his character.
There's a level of also like jail humbled him. I think
That too, yeah.
And he still kind of just strikes me as the kind of character that's like, I'm gonna look out for myself, and I think
very much.
I don't think he was all too attached to his crew. You know, he's like he if something had happened to all of them, he probably would have got out with like by himself and been like, oh fuck you guys, I made it. Like I do like, and I know that it was just kind of something they sort of gloss over like once or twice. They just kind of bring it up sparingly that he was a sharpshooter. Like that's what he did.
Right.
And I'm glad that we got to see a little bit more of that at the towards the end of the episode too, when he's on the slave one and he's like, hold on, let me see that rifle, and then just blows up the whole thing. Like that was rad.
Yeah.
So shout out to the cycler rifles, which that was Boba's cycler rifle that he took from Tatooine. So it's a Tusken Raider rifle, and as far as we're aware, I believe is the only rifle or the only gun that we know of in Star Wars that shoots bullets.
Really?
Oh, really?
Oh.
So it's like this idea that the Tusken Raiders are a bit more primitive comparatively.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think they're like actual like not BBs, but they're like musket balls basically.
I always think of early Battlefront 1 meta when everyone would have the jetpack and the cycler
rifle. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. This shit was awesome.
Early meta. Yeah.
Yeah, the cycler rifle. You had the jetpack and you had the DL-44.
Unstoppable.
Or at least you had the DL-44 if you were a jackass like me who pre-ordered the limited edition of the game, so you got it day one.
Hey, man, you gotta play the meta, man.
And you know what? That shit was awesome. Bring that back.
You know what else was awesome?
Let's go invade Battlefront 1 again.
That TIE fighter chase afterwards, where you get the part from episode 2, the only good part from episode 2,
I was
Yes.
just about to
Really
bring that up.
grenade
Whoa.
things.
Just ear porn.
It really is.
Yeah, like we all
God.
kind of expected it to happen right at some point.
Right.
Once the
I
slave
had-
one came back,
honestly
I was sitting there. I was like,
I-
please do it. Please do it. Please do it.
once the slave one came into the
I
picture, I was
forgot
like,
about
okay,
it honestly until
it's too easy. It's too much of a layup to not do like the size.
Oh yeah, I would
all those
have
doors
been
open,
really
I was, like,
surprised.
freaking out. Like, this is
Dude.
awesome.
And it was in atmosphere too, so
I
it
know,
sounded
dude.
a little bit different.
What did they call
Um,
that? What did they call that move you said?
Seismic charge.
The seismic
Oh,
charge,
okay.
yeah.
Charge. Okay.
Which
I had no
they
idea
which
what
they
they called. I
also
thought it was a
adapted
grenade
for
thing.
the well they also adapted it for Battlefront 1 as the implosion grenade. Which it was altered enough, but I mean it's like you'd listen to it and be like, "Oh, that's clearly like similar to the
Right.
seismic charge." Yeah, dude.
Mhm.
To the point where again,
I-
I mean, Bernie and I were watching it and I saw like that back hatch on the slave one open up and I was like, "Ooh!" And Brittany's like, "What?" And then it goes off, and she was like, "Well, that was cool." I was like, "It was cooler than that." You don't understand.
That's what I said.
I had,
Really good
like-
part of episode 2.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
1,000%. 1,000%. I had like non-flashbacks because I went for that trophy where you had to take down hero ships as just a regular fighter in Battlefront 2. And so
Uh-huh.
I heard the seismic charge sound so many times. I've been destroyed by that too many times to the point where I was like, oh my god, they're doing it. They're doing it.
The seismic charge went off, and while Josh was watching the episode, you just see him go. It was like
Crazy flashback.
the PTSD hits him.
I'm like, am I still alive? Holy shit.
I'm so happy they did that though. I agree. It was
Yeah.
kind of like it was an easy layup of just being able to. It's like, hey, we got the slave one back. Let's do the seismic charge again. But I mean, it's such a beloved thing in the Star Wars franchise that
Oh yeah.
like in the Star Wars fandom that it was like, hey, yeah, we gotta.
Yeah.
I'd have been disappointed if they didn't do it.
Right. I meant it more in the sense of like, okay, now that it's in the picture, like they had like it's you know what I mean. It just makes sense. It's so dope. Like, if they didn't do it, then it'd be like, what the heck? Like.
Yeah,
especially
that's what I'm saying. If
especially
they
in a
didn't do it, it
dogfight.
would have been weird, because the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad they didn't
Yeah.
they didn't miss that opportunity.
Just when I was
Right.
watching it, that split second, I kind of forgot about that. And then, like I said, the doors opened and so cool.
Yeah, the hatch opens up, and then it's my favorite thing about that is and it's just such a cool audio design thing is not only just like the blah, but it's like all other audio drops out for a second before
Right.
that. It goes
Yeah.
dead quiet, and then it goes off, and I love that. It's so
It's like
dope.
when Holdo goes through the
Oh,
snow
yeah.
ship
Oh,
in
Mm,
Last
that's-
Jedi, and all audio just stops. It's just.
it was dead
Just
quiet in
visual.
my theater too. Dead
Yeah,
quiet in my theater
same
when I
here.
saw that. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I heard one dude like 3 rows down from me go, "Holy shit!" Like when it happened.
My second time seeing it at Christmas, I heard like a 5-year-old just go, "Wow."
That's awesome.
And I took my younger cousin to see Ant-Man and the Wasp the day it came out. And there was the scene where like Hank's like trying to get back out of the quantum realm, and then he looks up and it just goes black. And then my 6-year-old cousin, theater secretary, just goes, "He's dead." People near us lost it.
That's awesome. I love it, dude. I love it.
But going back a little bit,
yeah.
when we were talking about sharpshooters, let's not. I mean, we have to talk about how cool Fennec and Cara Dune were working together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
And also,
yeah.
it caught all the Empire off guard. 'Cause the second they were getting out that window, they're like, no. And then the way they were playing, I was like, all right, you get the people, I'll get the cannons, and you get the guys on
Yeah.
top.
Also, shout out to that one dude that I don't remember if it was Mayfield or did or not. That one dude trying to crawl out in between the vents, and they just poke down and blast him.
Yeah,
I think
it
it
like
was
Nick
so-
is
yeah.
flash.
It felt very A New Hope-ish. A lot of shimmying.
yeah, a whole lot of.
Yeah.
I gotta get through. Let me out.
Oh, you know what I just realized? I'm gonna butcher his name. Rick Famuyiwa, I think, the director of this episode.
Famuyiwa, I believe.
Okay, he
Famuyiwa?
directed episode 2 of season 1, and that had a similar chase
Wild.
scene
Yeah.
with the sandcrawler, kind of evocative of
Mhm.
Indiana Jones.
Dude shoots action really well, and I believe
Mhm.
he's
He does.
he's going to be directing one of the new series that just got announced at the investor meeting too.
Ooh.
Let me
That'd be awesome.
look it up real fast. You guys, you're doing your thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely very well directed while we're talking about him. Like,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
just every scene in this, for some reason, I really enjoyed, and I can't even put my finger as to why, but there was just, like, he did the tension very well, he did the action very
Mhm.
well.
He also did episode 6, so he did the Mayfeld episode.
Okay.
Beforehand.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah.
he did 2 in season 1. I knew that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's also
That makes
unrelated,
sense,
the
then.
director of an excellent movie called Dope that I highly recommend watching. It's on
That
That movie
movie,
Netflix.
sounds dope.
Oh, yeah, I remember this movie.
Very good.
I didn't see it, but I remember the commercials.
That was the one that was like, not Atlanta the show, but it was about Atlanta, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, another point while Chris is looking that up, but I really like the Empire was seen as heroes for that one scene, but they were also like kind of extracting resources from that people's planet, and
Right.
that distinction Din makes at the beginning where he's like, I think they're pirates or something, or
Mhm.
Mayfeld
Mhm.
says it,
Mhm.
or whatever, but then they're just trying to destroy the fuel. They're not
Right.
trying to like capture
At all
it.
costs.
Oh yeah, they just
Yeah.
wanted to blow it up, dude.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, like yeah, these people are kind of just under the subjugation of the Empire, and they're trying to do
Right.
anything they can to
Like, get out.
take their planet
Be
back.
free, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Which is like,
I think in the concept art they were humans
Yeah.
as opposed to
oh,
aliens, which
interesting.
really would have
Oh.
driven that home because
Mhm.
in that village you see more human characters.
Yeah.
Right.
than
You see the
aliens.
humans first, and then you see
that
the,
kid's gonna
the
be
more
something,
alien-like
right?
people. So
It's-
I wasn't
it's
sure if they were
still-
supposed to be the same race or from the same planet.
It still works either way, but because I think if they made the pirate, or not the pirates, but the people on the skiffs human, it would have looked more bad for Din just killing a bunch of them. So
Right.
Yeah.
that was definitely an interesting point in the plot. I was like, oh wow, like these guys are trying to just take back their home.
Mhm.
I guess really the only other thing left in the episode is just the message with Moff Gideon.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
And
I
thought
like
this was
how direct he is.
well that, but I don't know if you guys watched the recap too, but it is almost word for word exact what Moff Gideon said
Yeah.
when he took
Yeah.
the child.
He switches out like it for he and like
Yeah,
couple, yeah, but it's exactly the same,
it is.
which makes me scared because I feel like
It, honestly,
that
it gave me
arrogant.
chills with his tone of the voice when he was talking about that. Like it gave me chills.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was powerful.
Yeah, dude, Mando can get scary when he wants to be. It reminded me. It reminded me a lot of the first scene that we see in season 1, to where he's like, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I was like, I really like that.
But even though
Yeah.
that he was pretty monotone, this it was like I am like he was threatening.
He's angry,
Like,
dude.
Mhm.
He mad.
Like, this one's for Moff Gideon, you big fat white nasty smelling bitch. Why you took me off the motherfucking schedule, ass trifling bitch? You went in.
And to credit Giancarlo Esposito's acting, obviously Moff Gideon is a very confident, arrogant character,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I don't even know how to say this, but like you did see like 10%, 5%, 15% like fear. Like he did look a little like on edge about it. Obviously he was
Yeah.
still like very like yeah whatever, but like it still was like okay he's
Like you can see
taking
that he
notes.
was.
He's
You can
obviously
see that he
gonna
was taken
prepare.
back a little bit. Like he wasn't ready for that. Or like
Yeah,
he
no,
wasn't
not at all.
expecting Mando to come back like that at him.
Mhm.
Which is really, really cool, and I doubt he's expecting him to come back with Boba Fett.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I
still
wanted to
didn't even
give
know
I wanted to give a quick shout out to one of Thick Boba's lines, to where when they're formulating how they're going to get into the base, and Mayfield's like, well, it's like they're going to scan your face. It's like, I'm ex-Imperial, I can't be the one to do it.
Fennec couldn't either.
Fennec
Carr
couldn't either, Carr couldn't, and they were like, well, what about Boba? And he's like, I have a feeling they'd recognize my face. And I was like, because he was a clone. I was like,
Yeah.
He was the clone.
yeah, I mean, literally, the clone. But I was like, haha, that's cool. I like that. That's a nice joke.
Mhm.
But also, I mean, it's like, it could also be interpreted to mean it's like, hey, he worked for the Empire during Empire Strikes Back as well. And so it's
Or
like,
that huge gap that we don't know about.
Let's see if they never.
they're like, what's
stopped
the
using
space in
clone.
your resume from from 6 ABY to to now? Like, what happened
I
here?
was finding myself.
Yeah, I start finding myself.
What do like British people say when they take like a year off college?
Sabbatical.
Gap
Gap
year or
year.
something.
It was a gap year.
Gap
Yeah.
year. Yep.
I had a couple of gap years.
He was on holiday.
I had to dig myself out of this hole I got myself into metaphorically.
Yeah, definitely not literally.
Okay, so now we're talking about Boba, and we kind of hinted at it before the podcast, but like, why didn't he clean up his armor the entire time he was working for Jabba and the Empire and everything? You know, because as soon as he got back his armor, he was like spick
A
and
renewed
span.
sense of
I
purpose.
think just the
That
time
too. I think
span.
it is a good visual indication metaphor of Boba, with a new sense of purpose, a new like look on life. Yeah, it was like,
Here's
oh
the
yeah,
thing.
like,
I still think he's gonna go back to bounty hunting and kind of doing what Boba does.
Right.
Him and Fennec.
But I don't think he's gonna be like a huge asshole.
Mhm.
That being said, it's like I've seen a lot of people just like, wow, Boba Fett's a good guy. I was like,
I mean, he's
his
just doing
character
it for-
hasn't really changed. I was like, he's just
No.
kind of doing what he always did.
Well,
Right.
that's what he said even last time. It's like, I have to honor this deal. I told you
Yeah.
we get the child back
That's what he
safe, and
does.
he's not safe.
Yeah.
He's just honoring the deal.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that makes him a good person. You know, it's like I think he's gonna turn around. He's gonna go take another job. Like,
Yeah.
but that's
think
fine.
I think most people in Star Wars, and it makes sense given the state of the universe that they live in, it's very much they look at it as a dog eat dog world. So
Mhm.
if you're my friend in this moment, you are. If you're my enemy later, you are. I'm looking out for me and no one else
Right.
for the most
Yep.
part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's how most of Star Wars is, which is why you'll find the unlikely allies.
Right.
But I mean,
In
yeah.
Mando's
Shout
case,
out.
it's been almost everyone.
Really though, it's like one. It looks fucking dope, all cleaned up like that. Like, damn, I'm really happy that they kept the look of him keeping the black robes underneath the armor. I just think
Yeah.
visually it looks really, really cool. Although they got rid of like the goofy like tan piece that's normally under the
Right.
chest armor, and that's all black
Yeah.
now. It just looks really, really clean. My question is like we've seen Beskar basically impossible to damage.
Mhm.
How the hell did his armor get in that state to begin with?
It almost looked like
Yeah.
it got worn away. So
Yeah, damage is different than wear and tear.
Since he was on Tatooine a lot, maybe it's just like the sand.
Maybe, but I mean he's got that dent in his helmet.
Courtesy
That
of
was-
Cad Bane.
Yeah. I was
Oh
about
yeah,
to
that's
bring
right.
that up.
That's right.
I was going to say, he did get eaten in a Sarlacc pit. So it could have been other stuff in that stomach.
So I guess we're just kind of okay. That was paint.
Mhm.
The Beskar's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, except for that dent. But all right. No, okay,
Yeah.
I'm back on board. Looks dope.
Mhm.
I need an action figure of it like right now.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Whole
Right
new
now, I
merch
need it.
coming our way,
Cool
guaranteed.
Funko Pop.
Mhm.
I'm gonna buy it all though. Boba Fett has never been this cool, ever.
Yeah.
No.
And he's always been like the cool looking character in Star Wars. Like you think of cool characters, you think of Boba Fett. Now he's actually cool.
Yeah.
And he somehow looks even cooler now than he did in the movies.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah,
look as cool
I
as
agree with
Django
that.
Fett, but he looks pretty cool.
He looks way cooler
My
than
man.
Jango Fett.
I
Way,
mean,
way cooler than Django.
Looks way cooler than Jango. You know what Jango doesn't have is dope black robes. That's what Jango doesn't have.
You know what? Django doesn't have a head.
dang, dog.
You're goddamn right.
that head is sitting right next to Mace Windu's body. They're both gonna come back at the same time
Somewhere in the Star Wars vaults, or like in case we need.
in case of emergency. Yeah.
Exactly.
They
Big
just
glass.
do the same thing in
In case
like
of
in God of
emergency,
War.
pull out Mace Windu.
They do the same thing with Django's head in God of War. He just gets strapped to someone's side. Gets
And
advice.
reanimates it.
Okay, do we want to predict anything for the
what I
finale
was gonna
next
ask
week?
you.
I was literally about to ask that too. I'm glad we're all on the same page here.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
predict it's gonna be an hour
Like
and
any-
a half long.
Anybody gonna
Ooh.
die?
You're gonna be disappointed.
Anybody gonna show up at the end?
I was about to
You know?
say that my prediction is that we're gonna get a tease of whatever Jedi heard Grogu's call from the previous episode.
I think it's gonna be exactly like the Darksaber, where you literally will see
We'll see it for like 1 second.
that character for like
Or maybe not even. Maybe it'll be like the Boba Fett tease from season 1, to where
They
we
can't
see
do
like
it.
their boots.
I don't think they'll do that for the finale.
But which Jedi has iconic boot sounds?
None of them.
My prediction is going to be what I said last week. I think they're going to fail and they don't get the child back, and that's going to be what season 3 is all about.
That would be really cool.
Ooh.
Does anyone think they have the guts to, as the season finale, kill off the child, or have us believe that he may
they're not.
possibly
They're
be
not.
dead?
No.
Not kill him
There's
off
too much
100%,
merch
like,
riding on him.
maybe leave it
Yeah.
like maybe leave this like Schrodinger's Grogu, just like we don't know.
Nah. I think if they're gonna leave a question out there, like open, it's will they be able to rescue the child or not? I don't think there's gonna be like, is the child dead?
I think in terms of likelihood of what's going to happen, I think the most likely is they get the child back, but it's not a complete victory. Gideon survives and or kills somebody or gets something back, or
I could see them failing and then them making that like the main plot of season 3 is like we got to go get the kid.
Get a
Yeah,
crew
that too.
together.
Yeah.
Or they get the kid, but they've already been able to extract
Big
a good
shot-
chunk of its blood,
Big shot
so-
Mandalorian putting a crew together.
Mhm.
Yeah, getting Bo-Katan, getting Ahsoka back.
That was a
Getting
solo
a
reference
huge
for
crew.
all 3 of you other Solo fans out there.
I haven't seen it since it released in theaters, so
2 of them are here.
I have to rewatch
Fair.
it. The first time I saw it, I was at a drive-in, and drive-ins are the best for movies you want to pay attention to and
They really
understand.
not.
no.
But yeah, I assume we're gonna get a Jedi tease. I feel like the likely candidate is Ezra.
Mhm.
So I think
Like
it's gonna
you
it's
say
either
with
it's gonna be Ezra or it's gonna be an original character that we haven't met yet.
Quinlan Voss, maybe.
Quinlan Vos,
Like- I'd like to see what he's up to. He's still MI.
Joris Saboth.
Yeah, I think
Kyle
Rahul
Katar.
Kohli. I think Rahul Kohli will come up in the end of the episode and he'll be like,
Fuck,
"Boy,
dude,
bro."
if it's
He's
Rahul
getting-
Kohli.
I don't know if you've seen. He's been getting a little cheeky again with his tweets. With
Oh,
that-
yeah.
with Ezra.
Ooh.
Yeah, but then he also said something about it was like, if anything, you should pay attention to the fan casting I don't acknowledge.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like because if like hypothetically,
Right.
if he's Ezra, Disney would never let him even
Oh,
tease
yeah.
it or joke around like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true.
He did also say that it's like the reason he fan casts so hard is because it's hard for Indian people to get
Mhm.
like main
Yeah.
roles like that, and so he does it so that way it's in the public mind and it makes it more likely. That being said, I would lose my mind if he got to play Ezra like that. I think that would be incredible casting. He's a perfect person to do it. Dude's a huge Star Wars fan, and that's a plus.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But yeah, I can't think of much else. I can see him both either rescuing the child or not rescuing the child. I think it could go either way, which is interesting because I
Yeah.
feel like I don't have a good grip on what's going to happen, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't know, but I'm just, as I said that last week, and I'm sticking with that prediction. 'cause
No,
that's
yeah,
about all I
that's
got.
fun. That's good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say I think they'll get the child back. I think there'll definitely be casualties to it. Maybe
Man.
Gina Carano because
I was about to say,
she's,
man,
you know-
imagine they kill off Cara Dune.
yeah, that would honestly probably be a
Everybody
benefit
cheering.
for Disney. They'd have a lot less kind of controversy on their
Yeah.
hands.
That's true.
I think Bo-Katan will come back to help, and maybe Ahsoka. It would be cool to see Rosario Dawson make one more appearance before the new show that got announced, and just that would also help put her on the path. You know, if she's
Mhm.
on this mission to take down Moff Gideon, who we assume is working under Thrawn.
But we also
Well,
don't know that yet.
That's what I
Right.
wanted to say was like,
What if
do
we got
think-
Thrawn? Oh,
Yeah, are we gonna get a Thrawn either reference, appearance, kind of like what if that's the Darksaber hook? Is like you see Thrawn for like 30 seconds on some intercom thing. Because then I was like, okay, is Moff Gideon gonna be the bad guy the entire time? Because I don't think he's
Right.
gonna die next week.
I
But
don't
is he
think he is
gonna
either.
be? You know what I mean? Like, are they gonna lose or beat him again? But he's still around
Like
for the
tag
whole
team him
show.
with Thrawn, maybe.
Is Thrawn gonna come
next
in?
season?
Is the armor kind of what I was saying earlier? Like she finds out he took off his helmet and like Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where the show goes next week because that's
Yeah, I don't imagine that we're gonna see the blowback to him taking off his helmet this episode. That might be a hook for season 3.
Yeah.
But that would be interesting if just out of nowhere Armor shows up. She's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
You had one rule. One rule.
Yeah, just the one.
Because not only the Armor, we haven't seen any other Children of the Watch since
Right.
like episode 3 or something. So
That'd be really
and
interesting.
we know
if
more of them survived than just the Armorer.
That would be really, really interesting if, like, the big hook for season 3 is that the Children of the Watch found out that he's broken the way and they're like coming after him or something. Like that would be really interesting. But I do think we'll see Bo-Katan. I would like to see Ahsoka, but at the same time, it's like I don't think we need to see Ahsoka next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think just the Thrawn name drop on its own in her episode is enough to sort of backdoor pilot her away into her own show. But if they bring back Ahsoka and she has a lightsaber duel with Moff Gideon,
oh my god.
Grogu, Ahsoka versus Moff Gideon. Where she gives a little lightsaber to.
He gets the Shoto.
It's like a full size one for him.
It's like a lightsaber dagger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the little training sabers. Awesome, boys. This was a really fun episode, as always. I enjoyed doing it with you guys. Al, where can we find you, man?
You can find me at Twitter, Instagram, Twitch at albob875.
Awesome. Follow him if you don't. I mean, really, what are you even doing? Josh?
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate it.
Goofing around on the internet on Twitter at some other Josh. Instagram, same thing. TikTok, same thing.
You can maybe not follow him.
Probably.
No, legitimately, Josh is like one of the funniest people on the internet, and you should follow him. Jordan, what about you, man?
You can find me on Twitter at Jordan_Deeb or on twitch.tv/orphangamers. On Twitter, I am shitposting and acknowledging that a live-action Spider-Verse is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan, you just had a tweet, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but you just had a tweet where I was like, Jordan, this is the best thing you've ever tweeted. What was it that I responded to?
You wrote that about I posted a picture of Jerry Trainer, and I said it was Keanu Reeves.
Wow. I simultaneously love that, but hate it.
But you gotta hold on. You gotta see the picture I used of Jerry Trainer because you're like, oh, now I get it.
He's got the long hair. That was it. I couldn't think of what it was. It was like a production still of him on iCarly. Yeah, that's the one.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Brett, what about you, man? Where can we find you, dog?
You can find me on twitch.tv/JimTasty every day, pretty much playing things from Mass Effect to the latest hit Wii U titles and more.
I've never met a bigger Wii U stan in my life.
It's more because Josh hates the Wii U.
Yes, sir.
And you can see him get visibly angry every time he brings it up.
Now Josh knows how
more
people
like
feel when
PU.
he mentions Knack 3.
Exactly. Knack, more of a success than the Wii U.
They're both irrelevant, and I hate you both. And of course, I'm Chris, a.k.a. RumblePack92. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter under those same names. I also play just about anything on Twitch, from Jedi Fallen Order to Star Wars Battlefront to other games.
All Star Wars games.
All
Star Wars month, baby.
Yeah, throughout the month of December, I'm playing all Star Wars games all month long, except for earlier today where I played some Cold War.
Stream.
Anyway, of course, next week will be the finale of This Is the Waypoint, and then past the finale, we're going to do one final episode where we're going to review and discuss the entire season as a whole. It's going to be a good time. Boys, I appreciate you coming on as always. This is a great time. I'm excited to see you next week.
Absolutely.
Always.
Later, y'all.
Peace.
This is the Waypoint.